The trip from Troy to Ithaca is about 600 miles. By boat, that's roughly 3 weeks. Odysseus took 10 years. That's not bad luck. That's a man who was, by any reasonable definition, terrible at his job. Homer wants you to believe this was an epic saga of divine punishment and impossible odds. Sure, some of that's true, but strip away the poetry, and what you actually have is one guy who kept making the exact same mistake over and over for a decade, while his wife fought off house guests and his son grew a beard. Let's start at the beginning, because the beginning is somehow already a disaster. Troy falls, Odysseus wins. Objectively, the hardest part of the trip should be over. He's got his ships, his men, a straight shot home across familiar water. Instead, his first move is to raid a random town on the way out, for no reason anyone has ever adequately explained. Just, war's over, let's rob one more village on the way to the car. His men load up on loot, throw a party on the beach, and get so drunk that the locals call for backup and slaughter half the crew before anyone remembers they're supposed to be sailing home. This is not a curse. This is a man who left a 10-year war and immediately decided the real danger was running out of things to steal. Next stop, the land of the Lotus Eaters, where the local specialty is a flower that makes you forget your entire personality and just sort of sit there, blissed out, forever. Some of his men eat it. They stop wanting to go home. They stop wanting anything. Odysseus has to physically drag them back to the ships in chains, weeping, while they beg to stay and keep eating flowers. Imagine being the captain who has to explain that one in a report. Lost several men to a produce-based addiction. Recommend future landing parties avoid the snack table. Then comes the Cyclops, which is the part of the story where Odysseus proves he is either extremely brave or has never once in his life read a room. He finds a cave full of cheese, meat, and livestock, clearly belonging to something enormous, and decides the correct move is to go inside and wait for the owner to come home. Not leave, not take the food and run. Wait around like he's hoping to catch the landlord for a chat. The owner turns out to be a one-eyed giant who eats 2 of his men on sight as an appetizer before Odysseus has said a single word. Eventually he blinds the Cyclops and escapes, which is genuinely clever. And then, sailing away, safe, free, home practically in view, he turns his ship around, yells his real name back at the shore, and gives his home address for good measure, just in case the giant wanted to file a complaint with his father, who happens to be the god of the sea, the guy who controls literally every wave between Odysseus and Ithaca. This is the equivalent of robbing a bank and leaving your business card taped to the vault. Poseidon understandably takes this personally, and here's where the trip stops being bad luck and starts being a professional grudge. Next, the winds. The god of wind, feeling generous, hands Odysseus a bag containing every storm wind in the world, tied shut with one simple instruction: don't open it. They sail for 9 days. Ithaca is visible on horizon. 9 years of war, 10 years of misadventure, and home is finally right there. And that's exactly when his crew, convinced the bag is full of gold he's hiding from them, opens it while he's asleep. Every storm on Earth comes out at once and blows them back to where they started. They were closer to home in this single moment than at almost any other point in the entire story, and they undid it themselves out of pure curiosity about a sack. Then an island of cannibals eats most of the remaining fleet. Then a witch turns his men into pigs, which, to be fair, might be a lateral move for some of them. Then he sails to the actual land of the dead to ask a dead prophet for directions, because apparently that was easier than reading a map. Then comes the part where he sails past a monster that eats sailors, and instead of avoiding that stretch of ocean entirely, the plan is sail directly past it, lose exactly 6 men to its mouth, and call that a win. By the time he lands on Calypso's island, he's lost his entire crew, every single ship, and most of a decade. Calypso, a goddess, offers him immortality and a permanent island vacation. Odysseus spends 7 years there. 7. Longer than the war itself. Homer frames this as him pining for home the entire time. The math suggests he pined for roughly 6 years longer than strictly necessary. Here's the part worth sitting with. Every single disaster in this story starts the same way, not with bad luck, with Odysseus choosing curiosity, or pride, or one more prize, over simply going home. The Cyclops' cave, the windbag, the witch's island. He is offered the exit at almost every stage, and at almost every stage, he takes the scenic route through disaster instead. Meanwhile, back in Ithaca, his wife spends 20 years fending off a house full of men trying to marry her, using nothing but stalling tactics and a piece of weaving she unravels every night. His son grows up entirely without him. His dog waits by the door for 2 decades and dies the moment he finally walks through it, which is either the saddest detail in the whole poem or the universe's way of keeping score. So the real reason Odysseus took 10 years to get home isn't a curse, or fate, or the wrath of the gods. It's a man who was handed a straight line back to everything he claimed to want, and at every single opportunity chose the cave, the bag, the shore he really didn't need to go back to. Ithaca was never hard to find. Odysseus was just consistently the reason it took 10 years to get there.
I spent 10 years trying to get home. You can spend 2 seconds subscribing.